3 episodes left. That is all The Boys has to land this entire story. And after an episode that felt more like setup than payoff, the pressure on what comes next has never been higher. Because right now, the show is sitting at a crossroads. It either accelerates into one of the most satisfying finales in recent television, or it starts showing the same cracks that turned other beloved final seasons into disappointments. And honestly, I think episode 6 is the one that will tell us which direction we are heading. Hey, what's up everyone? Come back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now, before I get into the theories for what comes next, I want to address the thing a lot of people are feeling right now, which is concern. The most recent episode did not feel like it moved the needle as much as a lot of us expected. And with so few episodes remaining, that lack of momentum starts to feel heavy. This is the final season. Every episode matters now. So the show really needs the next chapter to come in strong. And in my opinion, I think it will.
Because the V1 story is reaching a point where it cannot stay in the background any longer. Bombsite has to appear. The race has to escalate. And the consequences of whoever gets that compound first need to start landing in a big way. So let's start there. Bombsite feels like the next major addition to the story. And honestly, I think episode 6 is where we finally meet him properly. Both sides now know the V1 trail leads to him. Homelander and Soldier Boy are chasing that direction. Butcher and his crew are doing the same, which means this next episode could be the moment both sides arrive at the same location at roughly the same time. And if that happens, we might get something the season desperately needs right now, which is a real confrontation. Not just dialogue, not just setup, an actual collision that pushes characters into irreversible positions. Now, what makes Bombsite interesting is that he is not just another obstacle. He is one of the few soups who actually has V1 in his system. That means he is already operating at a level most characters cannot match. He is not some random target. He is someone with real power and potentially real arrogance. Because if he knows he is immortal, then why would he willingly hand anything over?
In my personal opinion, I think Bombsite is going to fight. I do not think this is going to be a negotiation. I think whoever reaches him first is walking into a war zone. And given his name, I would not be surprised if his abilities are tied to some form of explosive power, whether that means he can trigger detonations at close range or project blasts outward. Either way, the result is going to be violent. That is also why I think this episode could end up being one of the most action-heavy of the season. If Homelander, Soldier Boy, Butcher, and the boys all converge at once, then we are looking at something close to a pre-finale battle. And honestly, I think the show needs exactly that right now to build momentum into the final stretch. The bigger question is who walks away with V1, because the outcome of that chase changes the entire direction of the ending. If Homelander gets it, then we are looking at the most dangerous version of him this show has ever produced. A version that no longer fears mortality. A version that has no reason to hold back. A version that could genuinely become the unstoppable monster everyone has been warning about since season 1. And in my opinion, that would also be the version of Homelander that pushes everyone else away for good. Sister Sage would have no reason to stay if she cannot control him.
Ashley would be terrified, the Deep would be irrelevant, and Soldier Boy would suddenly find himself standing next to someone who no longer needs him. That is what makes the V1 outcome so important. It is not just about power, it is about what happens to every relationship around Homelander once the last trace of vulnerability disappears. On the other side, if Butcher manages to destroy the V1, or at least keep it away from Homelander, then that sends him into an entirely different kind of spiral, one fueled by rage rather than confidence, one where his reckoning stops being strategic and starts being purely destructive. Either way, I think the next episode is going to push Homelander towards something we have not seen from him before. And the death of Firecracker only accelerates that, because when the episode ended with him looking down at her, there was something in his eyes that felt different, not sadness, not regret, more like permission, like something inside him just unlocked the next level of violence. That connects directly to what he said about the reckoning. He told Soldier Boy it was coming, and I think episode 6 is where it starts arriving. If the Democratic Church of America launches fully in the next episode, and Homelander begins treating anyone who does not worship him as a target, then the show is about to enter its darkest territory yet.
That could mean mass casualties. That could mean the internment camps becoming something far worse. And that could mean every remaining ally either falls in line or runs. Now, shifting over to the personal dynamics, I think Frenchie and Kimiko are headed toward a breakup in the next episode. The cracks have been showing for a while now, but the most recent episode made them impossible to ignore. These two want fundamentally different things. Frenchie is drawn to chaos. Kimiko is reaching for stability, and that gap has been widening quietly all season. What I found especially telling was the small detail about the steak and the burned cake. On the surface, those are just domestic moments, but underneath they feel symbolic. Frenchie is trying to show love the way he thinks it should look, but he does not actually know what she wants. And Kimiko has been quietly accepting something that does not fit her, instead of saying so. That is exactly the kind of emotional disconnect that breaks a relationship. And in my opinion, the timing of this breakup matters a lot.
If it happens right before a major battle, then both characters are walking into danger carrying fresh emotional damage. That raises the stakes massively, because heartbreak and violence together tend to produce choices that characters would never make under normal circumstances. I would not be surprised at all if one of them tries to save the other during whatever conflict comes next, and that moment becomes even more painful because of what just happened between them. Then there's the deep and black noir situation, which, I have to be honest, I find the least interesting thread of the season. I understand the purpose of it. The Deep represents a character who never changed. He's the same selfish, insecure, manipulative person he was in episode 1, and the show is making that point deliberately. But at this stage of the final season, it does feel like their scenes are taking time away from storylines that carry more weight. That said, I do think Black Noir might finally snap. The Deep has been pushing him around and treating him like a tool rather than a person. And if Noir reaches his limit, then the fallout could actually produce something interesting, especially if it puts the Deep in Homelander's crosshairs.
Finally, I want to talk about Sister Sage and Ashley, because I think their subplot could become a lot more important very quickly. Sage has been playing the long game all season. She does not care about loyalty, she cares about positioning. And right now, her biggest question is where Soldier Boy truly stands. If she can figure out whether he is genuinely loyal to Homelander or secretly looking for an exit, then she can plan her next move with much more confidence. That is where Ashley comes in. Her ability to read thoughts gives Sage a weapon she did not have before, and if they use that ability on Soldier Boy, then the answer they get could reshape the entire final stretch of the season. Because if Soldier Boy is already leaning away from Homelander, then the ground under Homelander's feet is even weaker than he realizes. And if Homelander becomes immortal through V1 while simultaneously losing every ally around him, then we are heading toward exactly the kind of isolated, destructive endgame this show has been building toward from the very beginning. So when I step back and look at where everything stands, I think episode 6 needs to do 3 things.
First, it needs to introduce Bombsite and deliver a real confrontation around V1. Second, it needs to push Homelander further into his reckoning, whether that means immortality or fury. And third, it needs to start breaking the personal bonds that have been holding the main characters together, because by the time this show ends, I do not think anyone is walking away the same. In my opinion, the next 3 episodes will define whether The Boys lands as one of the great endings or stumbles at the finish line, and episode 6 is where that verdict starts forming. But anyway, that is my breakdown of The Boys Season 5, Episode 6 theories, and what I think could happen next. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Homelander gets V1 in the next episode, or does Butcher find a way to destroy it before he gets the chance? I will catch you in the next one.